Hello, it's me, Andy, from Blitz Gaming. Hope you're having a great day. Today, we are testing Intel's Arc A770, the A770 16 gig version. I mean, it's an heavy old card. It's well built. I'm not going to do an in-depth view on the card, not at this moment. Want to get a few drivers, updates come through, then we'll check it, because we know what their drivers are like at the moment, and everyone's already told you. And every time they release a new driver, I will do a new version on the testing. So we're going to test it against a 1650 from Nvidia, a 60500 XT Radeon, and an RX 6600 Radeon. I'm going to be using a Z690 Gaming X DDR4 motherboard from Gigabyte, 16 gigs of DDR, 3200 MHz memory, and an M2 770 and a 3 terabyte hard drive from Western Digital for the games to be stored on and run from. Yeah, we're not be putting 20 games. Need a lot of space, and hard drives are cheaper than buying M2s. So yeah, we have the M2 as a boot drive and a hard drive as a storage. M2s are coming down. I will switch soon over to M2s when the price comes reasonable enough. So yeah, we'll see how it goes against the competition. So yeah, Intel's Arc. It's not a bad card. I wouldn't say it's a rubbish card, but we'll see how it goes in gaming. Okay, let's get on. Okay, test system Intel 12600K, gaming motherboard Z690. So you want full throttle. Testing the normal stuff, and most importantly, we are using a Lian Li Galahad 240 all-in-one for this. We've got all the latest drivers running. We run everything in full screen mode with VSync off, no HDR or any other gizmos. We're only running games, so no any bench, because we've already done a bench test on the motherboard already. Okay, my next set of videos will be split screen when I'm comparing video cards. If you prefer it this way, let me know. Otherwise, we'll try and do split screen in the future. Assassin's Creed Odyssey runs fine. We are on AMD's RX 6500 XT with Intel's 12600K. We're on high settings, the presets, so basically everything's running just from the presets. On high, runs fine, can't complain. Switch over to Nvidia 1650, again high presets, game, great frame rate, no problem at all running the game. We switch over to Intel's Arc A770 with a 16 gigs of memory. Now, Afterburn don't work properly with this game. The frame rate seems to work, but all the settings on the console seem to be blank. So yeah, it works fine. Frame rate's a bit low for what the card's capable of, but otherwise it works fine. You always put it on high to get the frame rate up. We switch over to AMD's RX 6600. Again, faster frame rate. Yeah, again, Intel's drivers are not up to scratch, but otherwise, yeah, the game works fine. Okay, let's check out the charts. It runs okay, the game runs fine. I didn't find any glitches on anything, even Intel's Arc, except it ran a bit slow. You got to remember, we're going against the 6600, not the 66 XT or Intel's Nvidia's 3060. So yeah, he's running a bit lousy on the driver side, I have to say. Otherwise, everything else runs fine. 1650 on high settings, getting 62 frames. So yeah, she's runnable. The 6500 XT went into the 70s. And then we get to the ultra settings. Yeah, okay, ultra for 1650 and the 6500 XT. I'll keep clear of, go back to high, and you may want to put the A770, the Arc, probably in high as well. I'll go to 6600, has no problem running in ultra. Take a note that obviously there is large 1% load drop through the games. Now I still think that's down to Intel's 12600K having two types of processors. It doesn't seem to have, with all the updates come out, that bug's been there from day one. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We are on 1080p with Nvidia 1650 graphic card. We are on medium presets. She runs fine, no problem. At medium, we're getting what, over 60 on the average, so yeah, no worries here. Okay, you're definitely going to be wanting a card in the future with more than 4 gig. You'll be wanting to look at 8 gigs of memory these days. Switch over to AMD's 6500 XT. Again, 1080p medium. Yeah, we've got a good 5 frames, a little bit higher than the Nvidia 1650. We switch back to the 1650 and we've turned FSR on, which is AMD software, to upscale. Got it on quality mode, and you can see we've jumped a good 20 frames. So yeah, can't complain with that. At the end of the day, okay, I think the picture is not as good as off native, but obviously depends what you want. If you want frame rate, can't complain. Switch back to AMD 6500 XT, FSR on, quality again, and now we're doing what, 90 frames average, 1% low down to 75. So yeah, it's worth a good 20 frames a second boost. Now obviously you can go to ultra quality if you want to, or go lower if you want to boost it even more. But if you go lower, you get a worse picture. Intel's Arc, the A770. This time we're on 1080p ultra quality settings. So yeah, straight away you got a good frame rate, 70 odds, 1% low in the 60s. So yeah, she runs fine on this game, not like the old game where she was very low on settings. So yeah, obviously when the next Assassin's Creed comes out next year, bit like we'll have some good frame rate. Switch over to AMD's RX 6600, averaging 80, 66. So yeah, we got again, she's better than the Intel Arc. Again, Intel needs to do some optimization. So yeah, but obviously they're new to the game, Intel, and then you just get to optimizations. So go back to Intel's Arc, now turn FSR on. Again, quality mode, we're going what, 10 frames a second, can't complain really. Yeah, again, I've not seen no glitches, but I'm not really done an in-depth to see if there's any bugs in the game. I'll just see if it works straight out of the box. So yeah, Intel's Arc is working here, no problem. Well, it seems to be working, no problem. So then we go over to AMD 6600, again with FSR on, and yeah, you see now we've got a big boost, went up to 116 frames now. No problem for the RX 6600 at all. So yeah, can't complain. Now you've got to remember the RX 6600, 6600 XT have all come down in price. Now Power Color do a 6700 10 gig model, and you can get that for about £325. Bargain, really, can't complain. Now got the charter. Again, you can see the RX 6600 leads the Intel Arc A770. Intel's card does well. Again, it's not fully optimized. It should be doing a lot better. Now, they have said DirectX 12 is the best. Yeah, okay, there's not that many DirectX 12 games out there. If we come across any I've got available, I will use them to see how well DirectX 12 does. But under DirectX 11, it's an average card at the end of it, or even below average. So but hopefully the drivers, as I said earlier, will make it better. NVIDIA 1650 again does well against the 6500 XT in medium settings, but ultra, those two cards ain't worth playing. They're too low. I mean, alright, you can get away with 30 frames, but I'll be honest with you, it's not a very nice playable rate. So if you can go higher, play on a medium, make life easy for yourself, and have FSR on, then it's worth playing. Battlefield 1, 1080p ultra settings. On all the cards, we're on ultra. Presets, we're doing an average, what, 80 of frames here. I mean, I'll take the benchmark at a tower, officially, where the action is. But yeah, game runs fine, no problem. Switch over to AMD's RX 6500 XT. We're doing well over. We're doing easy 100 frames now. No problem, runs well. Okay, it's no game, but I mean, it's a great game to play, especially campaign mode. I did enjoy it. You can play online, but there's loads of cheats. Not always, but majority of the time there's loads of cheats on there. So, which really ruins it, really, online play. But otherwise, great campaign game and can be a great laugh. Just to let you know, Intel's graphic card does not work as a driver error.
Shot came from and let them have it.
Again, obviously the RX 6600 has no problem playing this game. Got to remember, this is a low end version. We've got the XT, and you'd be well over 200 frame rates if you had the other version of the card, the XT. Yeah, and obviously if you had an NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti, again you'd be well up there. It's a great game, can't complain. Again, Intel's Arc won't run. It comes up with a driver error saying your driver's out of date. Seeing as only this is the latest driver I use, I've got for the card. I don't know what's going on. Okay, again, Intel's driver failed on the startup of the game. It says your driver is out of date. As I said, it's not out of date, it's the latest driver. It's the same bug if you use their IGP. So Intel need to fix that problem ASAP if they want this game to work. On top of that, you can see the RX 6600 has no problem playing the game, 6500 XT, and obviously the 1650. They're all playing Ultra, it's all playable, no problem. Again, I don't have an NVIDIA 3060 or 3060 Ti to compare. I was thinking about buying one, but it's like, okay, they've already announced the 4050 coming out, so they'd be around to be a 4060. Now hopefully the prices will be okay come basically January, February, then we'll get one and compare. But yeah, until then, yeah, I'm not paying overpriced graphic cards what are basically now out of date. Okay, let's move on. Battlefield 5. This has DirectX 12 as well as DirectX 11. For Arc, we will do a test on both DirectXs just to see how it comes out. We start off with NVIDIA's 1650 1080p Ultra preset. You can see we're running no problem in the 50s. You may want to bring it down a level just to get over the 60 frame barrier so you play nicely, especially if you're going to play online. That is.
Damit uns das nicht auch passiert. Geschütz bereit! Behalten Sie die Fenster da im Auge.
Switch over to the 6500 XT. Yeah, she's got some more frame rates over the 1650 from NVIDIA. Switch over to Intel's Arc A770 in DirectX 11. I mean, she's doing alright. We've got average of 67, similar to the 6500 XT. Again, it's well short of what it should be. Should be well higher than what we got there. But again, drivers at the moment are not Intel's strong point.
Fertig. Wir müssen alle amerikanischen Truppen.
Switch over to the AMD RX 6600, now we're in the 90s. Again, still Ultra on DirectX 11. So yeah, plays well still. And those 1% loads keep dropping, get them in every now and then, and I still think that's down to the CPU, the 12600K. We will be changing that to a 13600K. Do have it here. The benchmarks will come sometime next week or the week after.
Nur noch eine Sekunde. Alles fertig. Artillerie. Anton 1. Feindliche Art.
Okay, we switched back to the Intel Arc A770, this time on DirectX 12. So we're still in the Ultra. And yeah, she has plenty of micro freezing. I mean, you can see the frame rate's doubled. Yeah, so now if we didn't have the micro freezing, you can see the potential of the card. We're double the frame rate. We're well over the 100 barrier now. But the micro freezing is there. Now, I don't know if that's down to, again, the Intel 12600K or basically down to the Intel driver with the GPU. I do have an AMD 7600X, which we'll be benchmarking next. Let's see how it all turns out. Then we will be benchmarking the Intel 13600K. Yeah, I want to know if those micro freezes disappear. If they do, bonus. Okay, I've got the chart up, and going by the chart, if DirectX 12 worked properly, the A770 would lead the pack. Alright, I don't do a DirectX 12 in for the RX 6600 because it was freezing, micro freezing, and we had micro freezes on the 6500 XT as well. So yeah, I still think you may be down to the CPU, not the GPU, because it's affecting two different GPUs, the micro freezing. So yeah, we won't know until I'll change over to the AMD 7600X processor. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's playable. If you're playing DirectX 11, the Arc is still playable in the 50s. Now, if you go down to high, you'll certainly get that over the 60s frame rate. So, it's playable. It's not like a disaster. It didn't crash anywhere. Didn't see any glitches. Not that I can see of out of the blue. So, yeah, it's a playable setup ready to go. Okay, using auto high on everything. Basically the default settings with anti-alias on disabled for CSGO. Otherwise everything's 1080p and everything's ready to run. I don't usually make a chart of this game because the frame rate is all over the place. Being an online game, 1 minute it's saying it's 200 frames, next minute it's saying 100 frames. So it's difficult, but this is on the NVIDIA 1650. It's running fine, no problem. Again, we don't have the anti-alias on, so yeah. There's no point having it on. You just want the fastest frame rate going in this game. No slowdowns, no nothing at all. So we're doing well into the 200 frame rate on the 1650, no problems. Again, on AMD 6500 XT. Yeah, frame rates are high again. So we're well over the 200 frame rates. The problem with this game, when you start, when you all bunch together, frame rate's low. When obviously you get out, spread out, the frame rate goes high. it's very difficult to benchmark. So it's easy to just show you on the screen what it's like and saying, okay, what the benchmark's like. Okay, we switch over to Intel's Arc A770, same setting before, auto high, no anti-delays on. So yeah, runs fine, don't see no graphical glitches while it's running, seems to be nice and smooth. At the end of the day, I mean, it played well for a game. This is a DirectX 9 game, I think. It might be a DirectX 11, can't remember now. It's been around such a long time, can't remember. But yeah, it played fine. Okay, maybe it should be doing more frame rates than what it should be. We'll compare it to the RX 6600 in a second. Okay, now we're on AMD's RX 6600 and we're basically well over 300, even hitting the 400 frame rate limit. So yeah, you could say Intel's Arc is way short of the mark on the frame rate. It's just the way it goes. Again, Intel's not been around long enough in the graphic card market to make decent enough drivers. Hopefully in time, get mature and be really, really fast. Okay, Cyberpunk. We'll start off with NVIDIA 1650. We're on medium settings, so set it to medium preset, and I've turned off FSR for the first run, and then we go from there. Now this is a classic reason why I don't like using built-in benchmarks. This built-in benchmark doesn't work properly. Now the average frame rate we got on the top left corner, that's okay, that's can be a little bit in and out, but the minimum frame rate and maximum frame rate it says at the end is a complete load of trash. And I did check it with Afterburner and it was a complete load of trash. Now it's not just 5 frames out or even 10 frames out, it can be up to 40, 50 frames out on the maximum and a minimum. And it's like, seriously, how can you be that far out? So yeah, just go by the average number at the end and don't bother about the rest of them. The 1650 didn't do too well. The 6500 XT does a lot better than the 1650. Again, at the end of the day, we're not using ray tracing on these low-end cards. It's just not worth the effort. But we'll put ray tracing on the RX 6600 and the Intel Arc. Switch over to Intel's Arc. We're on again ultra presets now. No ray tracing, no FSR. We're in the playable thing. We're in the 50s. I mean, if you went down a notch, you get into 60s, so it'd be worth playing. But again, no ray tracing. It runs okay, no problem at all, as long as you ain't got the ray tracing turned on. Okay, AMD's RX 6600, ultra presets. So no FSR or ray tracing turned on. It runs fine. It looks great, no problem. We're in the 90s. At the end of the day, again, at the end of the chart, I won't go to the end because I said the minimum numbers and maximum numbers don't make sense. So yeah, runs fine, no problem at all. Now if you want to know what it's like with ray tracing on ultra, basically it struggles to do 20 frames a second. Okay, I've included a chart, even though I did say the benchmark, built-in benchmark was rubbish, but the average frame rate did seem to be fairly stable. Just the minimum and maximum just come out a lot of rubbish, even when I tested it with Afterburner, just to confirm that it was rubbish. So yeah, so this gets to the chart. Okay, basically none of these cards are any good with ray tracing on. Simple really. If you go to the A770 with FSR on, with ray tracing on Ultra, you're getting 44 frames. The RX 6600 down to 30s. Now, when I turned obviously FSR on the RX 6600, it didn't make no difference. So it's basically come out no difference to when it was off. So 100 frames both ways. Just the way the game was, really. The quality setting was maximum the quality of the native. So yeah, and we go down to obviously ultra settings with FSR on for the A770, up to 70 frames, and with it off basically 59 frames. So even there, it works fine. Obviously, the best gainer will be the AMD 6500 XT. Gets up to a good 70 odd frames from 50. So that's gained good 26 frames really. And again, the 1650 from Nvidia gained another 20 odd frames. So both of those cards come out really well. So they're low-end cards, made Cyberpunk playable. And again, obviously you can change the settings even more, go even lower. I mean, Cyberpunk, it's one of those games, it's new, regardless of what the settings are, it looks great. At the end of the day, even on low settings, it looks great. So yeah, you just got to get that frame rate up. It's one of those games where it's new, it's brought graphics up to date, and we've got to wait for modern hardware to catch up. Plus, the game's got lots of bugs. Okay, not as many bugs as what it did have, but it does have bugs. Okay, let's move on. Far Cry 6. Just going through the settings. So it's going to be full screen, ultra or low presets, FSR on or off. So just setting out now. Get going. So we start off with NVIDIA's 1650, 1080p, low presets. Runs fine, no problem at all. Going where I don't have no HD textures on, no VSync, none of that on any of the runs at all. So yeah, it runs fine. Only bad problem, we've only got 4 gig of memory, and again, you definitely want to buy a card in the future. Your next card, make sure it's got at least 8. Switch over to the 1650. Again, we've only got 4 gig memory, but yeah, she goes some, no problem. We look at a chart off this one, there's no point seeing the benchmark over and over again. But yeah, all cards run well, and then they all playable running Far Cry 6. We quickly finish off with Intel's Arc before we go to the whole chart. This is on 1080p Ultra, not low settings, Ultra presets. Again, no HDR or HD textures installed. But yeah, runs fine, no problem. We're getting well into the 100, so it's one game it runs well on, very well on. So yeah, can't complain at all. We've got the charter. Intel's Arc does well, and then on basic ultra quality. We're talking what, 100 frames a second, so it does well. Basically, can't complain really there. Beaten by the AMD RX 6600, mind you. So yeah, because I still can't tell how fast the card's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a lot faster than the RX 6600 on all games. Because I think it's supposed to have been originally close to the RTX 70, but I don't know, we have to see how it all comes out over the years. So yeah, all the cards done well, even NVIDIA 1650, mind you, on low presets, but again, this is a game where all settings look good at the end of the day, and we've got 75 frames, so we're well over the 60 on all of them, all running well. Obviously the cards that run the best with FSR on are the AMD cards. I didn't turn on Cast Legacy. I'll just use FSR. Make life easy, and obviously DLS wasn't supported on the 1650. So there we go. GTA 5. Okay, again, full screen, 1080p, DirectX 11. Not turning on any bars. We just got on everything on very high. No MSA or FXA or MSA FXA turned on. So yeah. So now we're on the NVIDIA 1650. You can see we're getting a good frame rate. I've got my MSA and FXA turned off. As soon as you turn them on, basically it dies. So yeah, she runs fine, no problem at all on this setting. I don't think you can play with FX MSA turned off. Yeah, just no problem at all running the game. We switch over to AMD 6500 XT. Yes, we've got higher frame rate again. This guy comes out well on this game. So yeah, can't complain at all. Again, still getting those funny 1% lows. Not as bad, but they are there. Again, I still think it's down to the CPU. Intel's Arc finally getting going up, and now basically 20 frames ahead of the 6500 XT. So yeah, finally it's found a game what it likes. Game is probably still too slow when we put it against the AMD's RX 6600. Switch over to the RX 6600. Again, it pulls away, leading the charts. Runs fine as you expect. If you look at it 1% low, right, we're not flying now, we're actually in the car, but yeah. But yeah, it's a good all that game on all the cards, all playable on all cards. On the chart, we'll tell you about the MSSA. It's a massive impact it has. Okay, got the chart up. Don't forget, we do no post-processing. There's no bars on, so it's basically just MSA on or FXA on, MSA on or off. Depends what setting we did. Okay, so if you look at the chart, you can see FXA, FXAA and MSAA basically destroy the frame rate. Picture quality wise, there's not a lot of difference. Unless you want to be fussy. I mean, if you've got like a 3080, you'll be fine. But at the end of the day, if you haven't, I won't worry about putting them on. The frame rate's too much of a drop. On top of that, as normal, RX 6600 rules. This time followed by the Arc, then the 6500 XT, then the 1650. Again, Arc's too slow. Well, it's not too slow. It should be a lot faster than what it should be. Again, the drivers need improving, but it's playable. No problem there. It's certainly playable with this card. Again, you do get the 1% lows playing this game. Don't show on there, but it does depends where you are at the time. The 1% lows do have a big drop. Now I'll take the benchmark as the plane flies off into the distance. So it's the same every time. I'll take the benchmark at the same spot to make it equal. Okay, the new Modern Warfare. Now this is the early access, not too early access. It's basically the campaign version of early access. Like you can play like 3 days before it gets fully released. So yeah, there'll be more updated drivers since then. Basically, we play on Ultra, and all we do is change the image sharpening. I won't show all the video footage of me playing because there's too many runs. Because it supports Intel's XES, NVIDIA's image sharpening, AMD's FSR as well. So yeah, there's a lot of runs to be done. So it's basically 4 runs per card. So We just show the main run and we do all the others on the chart. So this is NVIDIA 1650 Ultra preset. I mean, you might want to lower it down so you get over to 60 on the average, maybe the high, and you run fine. We switch over to AMD 6500 XT. Again, native 1080p Ultra preset. Yes, we are up now above the 60, so yeah, she works fine, no problem. You probably say, why don't use the built-in benchmark? Well, I don't think it was actually available on the early access. I know there is one now. Intel's Arc native. Yeah, run okay. I mean, we're in the 80s now. I mean, this game, well, should really show the proper performance being new of Intel's Arc. I will take a benchmark as I come through when I look around the corner. There's obviously a lot of shooting goes on then. Just obviously have it all equal. If you look at the frame rate, there's not much difference between this and the Arc. On native runs, this is now on AMD 6600. So yeah, hopefully this game will show you Arc's true performance. Quickly show you Arc with XESS turned on, quality mode. So it's Ultra presets with Ultra XESS scaling turned on. So yeah, the frame rate has gone up. Seem to play well. Again, I'm not really seeing any glitches. Not looking for any really at the moment. I will do an in-depth game run on this a bit later with the latest drivers, the release drivers for the game. Okay, let's look at the chart. Okay, got the chart up. As always, AMD's RX 6600 rules with FSR on, followed by NVIDIA's image sharpening. Then we've got the Intel's Arc A770 with NVIDIA's image sharpening on. Now, the biggest disappointment was Intel's Arc running with its own XELS on. Don't really much of an impact. In fact, it's a bit lousy really. I mean, I thought it would have been quite up there with FSR and the NVIDIA sharpening system, but it wasn't. We had the best image quality. Well, again, we're not doing an in-depth for the game at this time, but I should think it's got to be FSR second after NVIDIA's NIS. So yeah, then probably XES. So yeah, that's how I should think it'd go. But yeah, they're all gained on all the image sharpening. So there's no complaints there. Frame rate's great, can't complain. Even on native, the 1650 did manage 40 at the end of the day, and even with NIS, it managed to gain 20 odd frames. So yeah, that done well. Obviously, it's an NVIDIA card, so yeah, you expect it to do well. Again, we don't have an NVIDIA 3060 or 3060 Ti. It's just one of those things. But there we go. So yeah, all gains all round. Yeah, can't complain. The game played well. Didn't see any bugs in the game. Game gone, remember, this was the early release. There is some optimised drivers now come out from NVIDIA and AMD. Intel, I don't think they've released any yet. They may have done, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, let's move on. Overwatch 2, new for me, new for benchmarking. Basically, we're using Ultra preset, no virtual sync, full screen, as I said before, no HDR if there's anything, any gizmos. Basically, it's just Ultra preset, and ready to go. Okay, being an online game, I won't do a chart because again, frame rate goes all over the place and obviously you get lag from internet and all sorts of stuff. So just have to go by the video. So yeah, I mean, it played well on all cards. I can't say it didn't. Okay, there's been about 20,000 updates. From actually, I had to go back and restart all the benchmarking because it did get really optimised within like 5 days. It has got faster, and I thought, well, okay, 1 minute's doing this, and 1 minute it's doing that, and it did, when it first came out, it was doing a lot of freezing, micro freezing, and so and so. Now since it's all disappeared, it's now smooth running. It plays extremely well. So we're on the NVIDIA 1650, as I said before, ultra presets and running great. We're in what, averaging over 100 frames, 1% lows. It's not that bad in the 80s, so yeah, plays well. Switch over to AMD's RX 6500 XT. We're going about 30 frames over the 1650. Game plays fine, no glitches. As you can see there, I can't see any glitches coming up on the screen. Yeah, no problem at all. So yeah, I mean, the game itself is extremely colourful. Unfortunately, my gameplay's crap, like all first-person shoot-em-ups, so can't do a lot about that. 1% low, yeah, we're good. Yeah. I can't complain. It's a good, funnable game, what I've seen of it so far. Let's get into the shooting so you can see the frame rate drop. Yeah, I mean, the game, it plays consistently at the end of the day, but you never know. Obviously, I've got an extremely fast ball bound, so I don't get it so bad what other people will. So, yeah. Again, being a new game, Intel's Arc should do pretty well. They've got another map, and then they can't help change the maps, not in control. Yeah, so now we're doing well into the 200s on the Arc. So yeah, it plays well. Again, ain't seen no graphic glitches on any of the cards. Yeah, can't complain. It does have FSR 1. I have used the FSR 1, but I couldn't really see much difference between the two. With it on or with it off, I don't think it's very optimised at this moment in time. So I won't bother showing it really at the end of the day. But yeah, it is there. Switch over to RX 6600, and for the first time I have noticed that the RX 6600 is actually slower than the Arc. So yeah, at last I should say, yeah, Arc is now running at the speed it should be. Again, yeah, it looks fine, no problem playing the game. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to do a chart. I've changed my mind. I decided to do a little thing a bit different. I've gone through all the videos, all the runs, and at the time, depends what card we're doing, I found the lowest 1% low, and whatever the 1% low is, I looked at the average FPS, and that's what we put on the chart. So at the worst case scenario, this is what I was getting on the cards. So yeah, I mean, in some cases they were running up to like 300 frames when you're on your own, but obviously this is the worst case scenario what I could find. So yeah, all the cards run well. Did not see no graphic glitches, no sound glitches, no tearing. But then again, it was a fast-paced game, and I'm too busy trying to shoot people. Again, I ain't done an in-depth look at the game to see what it's like. If you notice on the Arc, when I turned FSR on, it got slower. Again, I think FSR needs optimization on this. I'm not sure why they've only installed FSR 1, not FSR, well, at least 2. It was a 2.1 in the game. Don't know. But yeah, it went backwards for some bizarre reason. Don't ask why. But it does top the chart. It's in the 200s and a 1% low, 107. So yeah, it done well. Just beating the RX 6600. So yeah, again, all played well. Had no problem with Arc, and again, graphic card's done well. It hasn't made a noise while we're running. It's quiet. Again, played well. Red Dead Redemption 2. I've got higher presets or ultra presets, MSA, FXA turned on or off, or using FSR. Okay, so we're on NVIDIA 1650, 1080p with MSA and FSA turned on. I think FSA is times 4 because it can't go to times 8 because we run out of memory. Yeah, she's too slow. All I can say, yeah, she's way too slow to play. You might want to take them down a notch to make it medium if you want to be native, or low. I mean, this game does look good on really any setting, really.
Hello, mister. You want another?
Same settings, no FXA, MSA or TAA. Turned on, but this time on AMD 6500 XT. Again, same problem. It's too slow with those settings. You really need to go down a notch or 2 notches to get the settings up worth playing. This time we turn FSR on, quality mode. It automatically turns FXA and MSA off. And you can see that we've got a boost in performance. Okay, again, you can maybe want to go down to another notch to get over to 60. Otherwise, yeah, as long as it ain't under the 30s, the game's playable. Again, doesn't see no glitches, no errors in the game. Just run fine, no problem. Now we go back to the AMD's RX 6500 XT. Got FSR turned on now. And yeah, again, we're in the 50s now. About 5 frames, 10 frames higher down to 1650. So yeah, we're getting close now. Again, you may want to go down a notch just to get it into the 60s and make it a lot more fun to play. So once those shooting starts, you don't want any slow down anywhere along the line. But otherwise, it looks lovely. Can't complain. No problem. Again, we turn over to AMD's RX 6600. Okay, Ultra with everything's maxed out again. So it's FXAA, MSAA, and TAA all turned on. Again, we're just over the 30s, a bit lousy really. Yeah.
Hello. Now why are you raising hell on me?
Okay, now we go over to Intel's Arc A770. We're now on Ultra preset with everything maxed out. So that's MSA, TAA, FXA all turned on times 8. So yeah, there's no problem at all running the game. Again, you probably want to go down to get it over to 60. So medium settings. Just to let you know, FRS does not work with Arc. There's a bug in it. It looks like MSA or FXA. It's not been turned off, and it's got a lot of flashing going on in the grass. So there's something going wrong with the driver setup for FSR for Arc at this moment in time. Back on the AMD RX 6600. This time with FSR turned on. You can see, yeah, we get a boost straight away. We're way up to the into the 60s. Quality looks still okay, playable. So yeah, you've got a choice of obviously doing native down or having FSR on quality, or balance or ultra quality. Depends how you want to play. good old FSR. This wasn't available when I started the game, but yeah, it's certainly made an impact now. It's available. Okay, so let's get the chart up, and you can see the RX 6600 is the leader. Now, I think if FSR would have worked with the Intel A770, I reckon that would have got to the top because it had the best score native on Ultra. So yeah, so it's just a bug for some bizarre reason. Like I said, as flashing on the screen on the grass, it drove me nuts. So, and I did try it in DirectX 12 because you have the choice of DirectX 12 and Vulkan, and it didn't make no difference at all. So yeah, so there's a bug somewhere along the line with their drivers. Well, there's loads of bugs with their drivers at the moment, but that's obviously showing up. So yeah, 6500 XT with FSR on, gone to the 50s. Again, I reckon you went to a notch down on all the settings. You get down to 60 for the 1650 as well as the 6500 XT. If you look at the 6600 Ultra preset, yeah, that's too slow. Again, that needs FSR on, or again, lower the settings to make it worth playing. So yeah, again, the game works, no problem with, well, besides that glitch with FSR, Arc works fine. Okay, let's move on. Rocket League, only thing we got turned off is anti-delays on, otherwise full screen, everything's turned on. And we're totally uncapped so we can get a higher frame rate. And I have to say, this time it's now working properly with my recording software, so we had to get it done properly. So we're on NVIDIA 1650. You can see the 1% low has gone straight down, and we haven't even started yet. But we are doing what, 200 plus frame rate. Let's get it running, see how well it works. And he's got to go before we even started. That's just life. So yeah, it works fine. And day 1650, basically running over 200 frames a second. Decent size 1% low. So yeah, no problem playing this game at all. Fantastic. We're on Ultra, and all settings turned on. Switch over to AMD 6500 XT. Again, no problem. It's actually got a lower frame rate than 1650. Just one of those things, I suppose. This particular car has always been a bit funny. It's rather high or it's low. But being beaten by a 4-year-old card is not good for AMD, really. It's disgraceful. Yeah, it plays fine. Again, no problem. Well over the hundreds. And a good, 160 odd there for 1% low. So yeah, fine. Intel Arc, the A770. Yeah, we're doing 200 odd average. So yeah, we're playing pretty well. 1% low, going a big drop. As I said before, I still think that's down to the CPU, not the GPU. So it seems to affect all GPUs. The 1% low, and it seems to affect most games. Are we in? So yeah, gameplay's fine. Otherwise, no problem at all. No glitches anywhere on Arc or any other GPU at all. So yeah, we switch over to AMD's RX 6600, and he's flying up to the 300 frames now. Again, got the 1% low, disastrous drop. Not a lot I could do about it. Simple as that, really. We will find out if it is that it is the CPU when I switch over to AMD's 7600X soon. Okay, let's get a chart up. Okay, I got the chart. Done the same thing as we've done in the last game, or the other game, where looked at the 1% low, found the lowest 1% low, then added the average FPS what was available to get the score. Because obviously we know the 1% low and average is going up all over the place. So I just took it at the worst state scenario. So the worst state scenario, the RX 6600 still wins, 310 with a massive drop to 26. Intel's Arc, 186 to dropped to 36, 1650, 175 to 40s, and 163 to 21. Yeah, I still think that's down to the CPU, not the GPUs, because it affects all the cards. It's a pain, but you don't seem to notice it much when you're playing a game, because most of the time it's not that low. It's only every now and then it just does a bizarre 1% low, big time drop. Okay, let's move on. Total War Rome 2. It's a great game, worth benchmarking. Yes, it is old now, but I'll benchmark it for a reason. If you can't get on with a new version because your computer's too slow, you can always come back to the old version. Like Troy being too strong or Warhammer being too strong. 74 plus FPS. So she plays well on a 1650. There was a higher level extremer settings, but we ain't going to go that far. We just leave it as Ultra.
He will betray Rome. Arminius.
So we now move over to AMD's 1650. AMD's RX 6500 XT. Now we're well over the 100 frame barrier, so I have no problem running a game at all for this. I mean, like I said, you can always go down to extreme level, but I think the extreme really takes it to the limit. For some bizarre reason, I decided not to use Afterburner. Should have done. Made life a lot easier reading the little box. But yeah, we're well over 200 barrier again. This time we're using Intel's Arc A770. And yes, obviously, yeah, it's a game what works. Old game, it does work. I think they had a problem with Warhammer 2 not working when it first came out. I can't remember now. I know one of them didn't work. I don't know if it was with the CPU or the graphic card. But yeah, so far so good. Now we're on AMD's RX 6600, and yeah, she has no problem at all running the game. It's actually a true story if you don't know. The way he destroys the Romans, yeah, it's pretty good. I won't tell you what happens afterwards, but it is a good little story to watch. So I used a built-in benchmark, so now having 1% low, we've got minimum frame rate. So yeah, Arc, well, it does well. It beats the AMD's RX 6600, but it does have a big one minimum drop, because it's not the 1% low, it's a minimum drop. It does have that drop. That might go down to drivers, considering the other cards don't have that problem. Yeah, then followed by AMD's RX 6600, going up there in the 160s, 114 minimum, and 6500, 120, 80, odd, then 88, 55 with the 1650. So they're all playable at Ultra. The reason I use this game as a benchmark, I mean, you may like Warhammer and think, oh, there's too much power, or Troy for my computer. That's similar. You can always go back. This is 3 times faster than the new versions of the game. So yeah, that's why I like benchmark it. Okay, let's move on to the next game. Shadow of War. All 1080p ultra presets. It's a great game. This is NVIDIA 1650. See, we're in the 50s, running no problem. Yeah, it just runs fine at the end of the day. You could go down a little one lower tier, just get it over the 60s, make life easy while playing. Now with AMD's RX 6500 XT, yeah, the frame rate has gone up over the 1650 by about 15-20 frames. So yeah, runs fine. No problem. I mean, basically, when we do this, we just do the same thing over and over again. Jump down to the same spot, fight the same mobs, try and get a consistent frame rate. Yes, I can use the built-in frame rate, but as I said before, you want to have a feel of the game, when it plays, see if there's any lag or anything. And I just think it's a lot better to actually see someone playing than having a built-in benchmark do the job for you. Then we can test Intel's Arc on the logo on this game. You can see the 1% lows decide to have a big drop. Some are risen again. Can't work out that. Again, I still think it's down to the CPU, not the graphic card. So yeah, again, otherwise it just flies, no problem. Average frame rate's well over the 100. Works fine. I mean, I can't feel when I was playing it, couldn't feel there's any stuttering or anything like that playing. So yeah, it's basically like a micro freeze, but usually you soon notice them when it's happening, and I couldn't notice anything on the screen at the time. Finish off the RX 6600. Again, no problem with the frame rate. I think it's probably a bit lower than the Arc. Okay, 1% low is better. But yeah, Arc could be a bit of an improvement on the RX 6600 again. So going by the chart, Shadow War, Intel's Arc wins again. So I think that's the second game. Was it the third game now? It's one against the RX 6600. So it should. It's a more powerful card on paper. Yeah, we're still getting that funny 1% low. I don't know why that is. I'm not quite sure. I still think it's a CPU thing. I mean, it could be down to the graphic driver, since on this chart it's only showing Arc as the problem. And when we was running around, it wasn't really stuttering or anything like that. Had no problem. So yeah, it's fine. So we've got what, 120 frames on Arc, 110 on the RX 6600, 64 on the 6500 XT, and 47 on NVIDIA's 1650. Now the two low-end cards, you probably want to go down to the high, want to get it faster, but you are according to the built-in info, using up in the red zone, using up too much memory. So yeah, basically you'll probably find it's got slower than normal slow. So yeah, go back to high. Because we've only got 4 gig of memory on these cards, and 4 gig of memory is not high enough these days. You want at least 8. I mean, even the games, this game's what, 4 years old, yeah, and we're capping 8 gig of memory. So yeah, you definitely want to get a minimum 8 gig memory on any card these days. The Wicher 3 Wild Hunt. We are using Ultra preset / Max preset for the processing. So Ultra for graphics, Max for the processing. Otherwise it's in 1080p, full screen, Ultra presets on all graphic cards. So we're on the NVIDIA 1650, 1080p, again as I said, Ultra, Max presets. One for graphics, one for processor. And we do an average of 48 and 1% low in the 40s as well. So not much of a drop on this card, but there is a lot of 1% lows on the other cards, and I believe that's down to the 12600K processor, because I remember when I tested it when it came out, there was lots of 1% loads. Now on the 6500 XT, again we've got that 1% low, bit of a drop. Yeah, but average frame rate 60 odd. Yeah, ain't much better than the 1650, but it's there at the end of the day. Seems okay, no problem. And I like The Wicher. It's a good game. I saw Series 1 on TV. Totally forgot about Season 2, and I've just heard that, can't think of his name now, the bloke who plays The Wicher, Superman bloke, he's no longer doing Season 4, someone else is taking over. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't think it'll be the same without the same main character. It's a bit daft changing him. But oh yeah, we're on the Arc A770, and yeah, we're doing 80 odd frames. Yeah, does well. Yeah, I've got obviously the 1% low, keeps going back. It's done that on all ever since I've had 2600. It's had bad 1% loads on this CPU. Now I remember, because obviously when I tested it when it first came out, and yeah, the 1% loads were bad. It obviously hasn't improved over the last 6 months. So yeah, let's move on to the RX 6600. Now on the RX 6600, yeah, it's a little bit faster than the Arc, but yeah, game plays alright. It's about 1% low, but we can't ever get rid of. Okay, got the chart up, and you can see RX 6600. Yeah, it wins or 80 odd frames. Nicely 1% low. Intel's Arc 70 odd. 1% lows were fine on there. Sort of odd that come out fine. Obviously seems to affect AMD more than anybody else. Because the 1650 has got a good frame rate, and it's only got a 27% 1% low. So yeah, but you do notice it on the screen when that kicks in at 1% low. You do notice it on the screen. It's not like when we was playing Shadow of War. It was doing a low 1% low, but you never really noticed it. But on this game, you do notice the 1% low. Total War Warhammer. 1080p medium preset for the NVIDIA 1650. Still getting a good frame rate. We're in the 70s. No problem. As I said earlier, playing Rome. If you had a problem playing something like this and you liked it, you can always go back to Rome. At the end of the day, it plays a lot better. So yeah, no problem. Switch over to Andy's RX 6500 XT. Again, 1080p medium preset. Again, has no problem running, but in the 60s. At the medium presets, has no problem at all. We switch back to NVIDIA 1650. This time running Ultra. You can see the frame rate's gone down. If it was me, I'd probably play medium, bit large armies. So you get the full scale army and also get the frame rate at the same time. Switch over to AMD 6500 XT. Yeah, she's running, I think, slower than the 1650 on Ultra. Again, I would give myself larger armies and turn everything else down. I mean, it looks lovely, can't complain. Switch over to Intel's Arc. So again, we're on 1080p Ultra preset. It's running fine. We're in the 50s. Maybe it should be running faster than that. Again, it's early with the drivers. Hopefully we'll get a bit more optimised than what we've got now. But otherwise, yeah, it's playable at Ultra. Again, you may want to change down a notch just to get over the 60 frames and make life easier. But yeah, it's not a first person shoot 'em up, so you're not going to notice too much on the screen. Switch over to AMD's RX 6600, and yeah, similar frame rate to Arc. So Arc must be quite optimised to play this. But again, you've got to remember, it's a faster card, Arc, so it should go quicker than the RX 6600. So yeah, otherwise, game plays well on all cards, never seen no glitches, anything like that. Sound was fine on all cards. Arc had no problem playing at all. Again, you probably want to go down to high just to get a slightly better performance running over 60 frames. And that's it. That's all the games complete. Let's have a quick look at the chart. Ain't half easy to read. Just in case you're wondering where I get a frame rate number from. I don't take it at the end of the built-in benchmark. I take it when the sorcerer bloke drops all those ice crystals down on the bear. Okay, got the chart up. So the RX 6600 is still top. We're talking about a couple of frames. There's nothing in it, but obviously hardware-wise, in theory, Intel's Arc should win. It's got more power. It should really win, no problem. But at least at the end of the day, it ain't really slow. So now we've got 1650, 6500 XT. 1650 wins against the 6500 XT on Ultra and on the medium presets. Okay, those two cards are not playable really. Well, they are a bit, you're on the limits. On Ultra, yeah, you want to go down to medium where you're getting, what, 70 frames, 66 frames, 1% loads is good. Yeah. Plays well on medium. And even on the Ultra settings for the other two cards, you probably want to go down to high. You get it over 60 frames at the end of the day to make it worth playable. I mean, it's not a first-person shooter, but at the end of the day, 60 frames is always a good playable rate. No stuttering, no nothing. It's just, okay, you want to grab something, move it, it works. So, Intel's Arc, how bad was it? Well, it wasn't a disaster. I mean, it ain't fast. It's dead down. I mean, at the moment, it's got a fairly good price, but AMD's RX 6600, XT and non-XT have come down in price, which is cheaper than Intel Arc. So it's like, okay, what do you want to spend? Considering most of the benchmarks we've done didn't beat the RX 6600, so okay, do you want to spend that sort of money? So I mean, in UK it was just under £400, the A770 16 gig version, and yes, you can get the RX 6600. Check the price. AMD 6600 is coming in at 269. So yeah, over £100 cheaper. And then you got the 6050, which is coming in at 369 to £400. So yeah, yeah, I know they put the price against Nvidia, but okay, they are not nowhere near the cheapest price, and you're not really competing against a 3060. 3060 is still a better card. So yeah, Nvidia, sorry, Intel, you need to probably lower your prices even more than what you're giving it at. Okay, it was quiet. I have to say that. It was quiet all the way through. Again, the only glitch we had was with Battlefield where it wouldn't run. Come up with a driver error. Oh, and on Red Dead where I couldn't get FSR to work. Now that could go down to being AMD or game manufacturer or the card. You don't know because obviously it's not Intel software. So yeah, otherwise the car's not bad at the end of the day. I mean the 3060s, the problem with the 3060s, they're still over £400. Yes, it's a quicker card at this moment in time. Now in theory, if Intel get their drivers correctly running, this card should win. It's got potential. It's got 16 gigs of memory. It should start to go. Now, if you go back to Battlefield 5, when we were running DirectX 12 mode, I mean, it literally run no problem. I mean, we went up to well under 120 frames a second, way higher than the AMD's RX 6600. Except it obviously had that massive stuttering problem. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, you could say, yeah, it runs well. Again, Overwatch, it matched the RX 6600, no problem. Warhammer, it matched the RX 6600. And there was another game we done, Modern Warfare. Again, fast card. So, yeah, it's got potential. So, would I say don't buy it? I mean, if you could put up with the slowness on some games, no problem. It's got potential, but game, we don't know how long it's going to take Intel to get the drivers up to date. It could take them years, to be honest with you. Okay, I will redo runs on quite a few of the games every time they release a new driver update to see how it improves. If it suddenly improves, bonus. If it don't, well, Intel, well, you're going to not be selling cards in the very near future, I don't think. Okay, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one, which will be on the AMD 7600X CPU.